Welcome to Marketecture, where you can get smart fast with in-depth interviews of leading technology vendors. I'm Mike Shields, and I'm here with Nicolle Pangis. She's the CEO of Ampersand. Hey, Nicolle, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So let's start with the big, important question. What does your company do?
Ampersand is a media television company. We're owned by Comcast, Cox, and Charter. The company has been around since the early 1980s, and really the original premise of the company was to aggregate the inventory of cable operators across the country in order to make buying cable inventory easier. The company has grown from that as a premise to include satellite and telco as well. So up until 2018, which is when I joined, the company was effectively a scaled player in national spot, which is multi-market linear television. In 2018, when I joined, part of the reason I joined is the owners decided to add, not pivot, but add more advanced television offerings into the company. And they did this by incorporating their national addressable inventory as well as their television insights off the set-top boxes as part of their distribution into the company. And since that time, we've added the inventory of data of Altice and Verizon to the mix too. So now, largely we sell the media across, all the cable, telco, and satellite operators on the linear side, and then we've added the national addressable and a bunch of streaming inventory as well to really sort of pivot the company into, the new architecture of television, which is much more data driven and audience driven than it previously had been.
I wonder if you can maybe walk us through a couple of different hypothetical examples of how someone works with Ampersand that's more of a traditional spot cable advertiser, and then maybe a good example of someone who's really taking advantage of all the data integrations and all the different inventory from TV to digital to whatever. Maybe you can give us a couple different examples.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you an example. Let's say an auto company, right? A car manufacturer.
Right.
So they have basically three ways that they buy television. Tier one would be national, like all the national networks. So that makes a lot of sense for them. That's how you get broad reach. Then there's tier two, which is what we do, which is multi-market regional. So that would be regional of the same auto brand, right? But you have regional dealers, and you might have regional dealers across multiple regions, right? And they want to do similar messaging because there's similar promotions and that sort of thing. That's where we play.
Okay.
And then tier three would be, let's say, a single owner dealership in a specific city, in a specific state. That's tier three. And an individual distributor that, that has distribution in that market would handle that. So we sit historically in that tier two marketplace. And if I'm going to make it up, but let's say an auto brand wanted to target New York, Boston, and DC as an example, they would come to us because we work with all the cable distributors that are in Boston, all the cable distributors that work in New York, and all the cable distributors that work in DC. So you could do one buy through us, and we can actually basically spider out through our distribution to cover every single one of those markets with one media buy, as opposed to going through all the different ones, right? So that's the premise of the company. What we've moved into is tier one in auto. So the same brand can use us for national addressable. And the value there is, there's a fallacy now where national addressable is somehow sort of taking from national linear, like traditional national buys. That's inaccurate, but what we're finding is that a brand should still buy national buys, but there's a place in which, and I know we're going to do a demo in a moment, but there's a place in which the reach curve flattens out after you buy so much national inventory. And at that time is where sort of the blunt force of national loses its value, and national addressable, which is a more targeted audience-based buy, can actually increase your reach curve because we can show you at Ampersand, the households that you didn't reach, like low TV viewers as an example, and find those households. We call it an easy button.
Right.
But we actually know, because of the data we sit on, that we can reach those households. So you can get incremental reach. So it's additive to the buys that a brand typically is already doing in the national marketplace. So that's an example of both ways that you can buy through us. One is that the more traditional piece, which is the multi-market, more blunt force. You could just do it based on geography, right? More traditional Nielsen GRP metrics, or we can do it through an audience as well, because we built a platform where you can actually select an audience to buy in that market as well. And then you can do the national addressable piece, which is more kind of what would be considered tier one buys on a national scale.